Hi everyone, talking to Debbie Freeman from her home in Melbourne, who won Junior Wimbledon 40 years ago. Deb, does it feel that long?
I didn't realise it was 40 years until you reminded me, I guess because Wimbledon's not on this year, which is a shame. But yes, it's a very long time ago. It was very exciting. Like it was obviously a great tournament to do well in and to win. It was all a bit surreal at the time. I probably appreciate it more now, I think. Then I was 18, I was self-conscious, and I guess I didn't probably feel quite deserving of it at the time. And there was a lot going on in my life at the time as well. So it was quite a difficult period. But now I look back on it and I think, well, it was actually a really good thing that I did, and I'm very grateful that I won, and I can look back with a lot more pride now, I think.
Why didn't you feel deserving of it?
I guess I never had a lot of confidence when I played, and I'd played quite well leading up to that. I'd won a few tournaments and different events in different places, and so I was on a bit of a roll. So that was good, and I loved grass. But I kind of had a lot of tennis, and I was hitting the ball quite well leading up to that tournament, and I felt like I didn't have a lot to lose in that event, so I didn't feel a lot of pressure.
Is it right you weren't in the junior team that year, the Australian junior team, and then you had to play all of the girls who were to win the title?
A little bit of embarrassing for Tennis Australia, which was called, what was it called, the LTA back in those days. The year before I was in the Australian junior team, and I travelled overseas with that team, which was fantastic. So I was 17, I was eligible for it again the next year. I got home after the US Open in 1979, and my father, unbeknownst to me, had cancer. And so when I got home, I saw him, and he was very ill, and unfortunately he passed away in the October. So that was obviously quite a game changer for someone, 17, and my father was kind of my biggest support with tennis. I used to practice with him every day, and so we were very close. So that was like a huge life-changing moment. And over that Australian summer, I didn't dominate the juniors. I can't even remember how I went. I didn't get into the team, and that was really disappointing because financially, I was going to really struggle to get back overseas that year by myself, and also the support that obviously goes with being in the Australian junior team and getting into the Grand Slam tournament. Sometimes you do have to be nominated by your federation, and I obviously wasn't. Jacques Dorfman, who was the referee in Paris at the French Open, and I forget the circumstances, but I wasn't in Junior Wimbledon because I wasn't able to be nominated by Tennis Australia because they'd already had 3 girls in the tournament, and I don't think they could nominate a 4th. And he nominated me. So that was the only reason I was actually in the tournament. So it was lucky that I even got a run. And then as it played out, I had to play each of those girls in the actual tournament. So that was kind of satisfying from my point of view, but I don't think Tennis Australia were they were happy that I won, but it wasn't their optimal result, let's put it that way.
You were actually nominated by France. Your dad's passed away, which obviously would have been extremely difficult. You had to bounce back from that. I mean, all of that must have just made the achievement so much more significant in your life.
Yeah, it was kind of bittersweet though, because he obviously wasn't there to enjoy it. So that was hard. And he and Mum, he had never been overseas, and he and Mum had actually had this plan to go to Wimbledon that year. He was a mad tennis player and, wanted to go to Wimbledon, and they had actually planned, penciled in 1980 to go. So that it was kind of bittersweet that they weren't there to enjoy it. You know, maybe I wouldn't have won it if they were there. I don't know, but yeah, that was hard that he wasn't there, but also, you know, it was good that I had won because I knew that he would be so pleased about it. Yeah, so I can remember coming off the court and feeling like, wow, can't believe I just did that. And we had to go up to centre court to get the trophy from the Duchess of Kent. And so we were taken up to the Royal Box on centre court. And I remember thinking, oh, you know, the Wimbledon, everybody holds up the trophy. And I remember thinking, no, it's juniors, I can't do that. So I just kind of held it there. But now I think about it, I think, how stupid was that? You know, now I'd be jumping up and holding it, and but that was just my mindset at the time. I was very, I guess I was shy, and yeah, I didn't want to be a poser as such, was the word in those days, I guess. So I was very humble and just held my trophy there, and yeah, it was all a bit of a blur. But like now I can look back at it and think, well, I'm very proud to have won it. You know, we took our sons back to Wimbledon. My name's on the honour board and it'll be there forever, which was really nice to know. At the time, I know I certainly didn't handle the pressure that came with that. And I just think it was a lot to do with my personality. And also it was a very difficult time in my life with the death of my father. I found I was always quite homesick when I travelled. Like, I'd always miss home terribly and find it hard to be away. You know, we'd go away in March and not get back till September. It was a long time to be away and just kind of travelling from week to week with no support system. I think I always struggled with confidence. So I think, you know, that spotlight was on me after that, and I don't think that I coped with it very well, and I don't think that I had any support to help me learn how to cope with it. You know, the transition between juniors and open is huge. And with juniors, thing that I benefit from with juniors is you've got a lot of matches. You know, then there are a lot of tournaments. You know, opens. You know, it was hard going. The draws were much tougher. The players were much stronger. So, you know, if you weren't winning matches, you weren't getting matches. So that, I think, for my game, I needed a lot of matches to get some confidence and some momentum. So I found that difficult transitioning from juniors to open. But I also think, you know, just being away and not really knowing how to, you know, get over the death of a parent. Like, it's kind of, when I look at it back at it now, it was kind of, okay, my father's passed away. It's terrible. But I just kind of kept going. And I think if, in hindsight, if we, you know, now there's a lot more support around for people, especially a 17-year-old. You know, I didn't even have any counselling or anything like that. And I think I probably would have benefited from that. But it wasn't kind of an option back in those days. You know, you just got on with it. And I think I really suffered for that. And I became very homesick. And also for me, I would have really benefited from having a someone, you know, like a coach, which would have been ideal, just to have someone in your corner who, you know, could work with you on a more personal basis, someone that you clicked with, and that just wasn't an option for any of us back in those days.
The only other Australian to win the girls' singles title at Wimbledon, Ash Barty, in 2011, she had a year off. I mean, couldn't cope with the pressures and the expectations. I mean, do you often think that would have been great for you to be able to take that time off, to regroup, get yourself together, and you could have gone back on tour with all those supports that you were talking about?
I think that was really brave of her to do, and look how it's turned out. You know, it was obviously the right thing for her to do. For me, it wasn't an option. You know, like if you stop playing for a year, you kind of, what were you going to do? There was no sort of support system even at home. You know, you would just kind of hang around and practice and by yourself, because you didn't really have the resources to hire a coach even at home to work with you all the time. There wasn't even any facilities that were central that you could go to where you could, you know, work out with other people or whatever. So yeah, look, I'm sure I would have benefited from that. It's really great to see I've never met her, but she seems to be, you know, like a great girl. And it's really good to see how she's handling that pressure and, you know, just taking it all in a stride. She's very inspirational, and I really admire the way that she plays and conducts herself.
Is there anything you think that can be done to not put so much pressure on young players, such as you experienced?
Look, I think they're going to attract that sort of pressure, and probably will definitely more so now with social media. You know, I think if social media was around when I was that age, I would have just curled up in a corner and cried, because it's, you know, it's so magnifying and can be so cruel. But, you know, they obviously need a lot of support. I know it's an individual sport, but I think everyone would benefit from more of a team-like culture. And I hope it's like that. I mean, it may be like that, I don't know. They need to be really not hurried along, you know, because I won Junior Wimbledon and I just kind of went to the next tournament the next week and just carried on as normal.
Deb, why did you retire so young?
As I said, I was, you know, finding it hard to be away from home for so long. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't playing particularly well. I was finding it hard to get form, and I just felt like my heart wasn't in it. So I just lost my passion for it, and just wanted to be at home. Like, I just want to, you know, get on with the next phase in my life and just do other things, basically.
So what were the emotions like when you decided to quit?
Yeah, I think it was mainly relief, to be honest. You know, I probably never had the confidence to think I was ever going to be a Wimbledon champion. I never thought that, but I thought I could have played better after, you know, in the years before I did stop playing. My heart wasn't in it. I didn't have any answer how to get that passion back. So I just felt, well, you know, I've had a good run, I've enjoyed it, that kind of time to move on and do other things. So I remember my last match, I played at Kooyong and I played a doubles, and it was against Billie Jean and someone, and I can't remember who the someone was. And she said, "I hear you're retiring when we finish." They won the match. And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "You'll be back." And I said, "No, I won't actually," because I was sure. She said, "You'll be back. You'll be back." I go, "No, I don't think I will." And I wasn't. You know, I wasn't happy, and I just didn't think that I was going to continue playing, and I didn't.
So have you gone on to happiness past tennis, and what have you done on the tour?
After I stopped playing, it was like, okay, well, you know, what do I do now? The transition was kind of coaching, sports, and then back on the tennis routine again, and for a little while, and then kind of I gained enough experience in those marketing roles from earlier on to get hired for a company that had kind of no connection with sport. But that transition is hard because, you know, when you stop playing, all you've ever done really is play tennis. So it is difficult for a lot of people to know what they want to do and how to get there after you finish playing. I started working for a sports importing company in Sydney, which I quite enjoyed, and that was, you know, gave me a look at the business world, but I still, you know, involved in sport, so that was great. I enjoyed that. And then through that job, I met my husband, Peter, and we have our own multimedia company now. So we're both working in that. Now we have 2 children. We've got 2 sons, 22 and 20. So yeah, never thought I'd be living in Melbourne, but yes, we've been here for a long time.
Do you ever think it'd be great for the woman that you are now to be able to go back and have a chat to 17, 18-year-old Debbie and just give some advice around that time of having won the Wimbledon title?
Yeah, I think I'd go back and just say, you know, don't be so self-conscious. Have a bit more self-belief. I was very shy. I would say maybe, you know, with all the homesickness and that, like a lot of that had to do with the death of my father. There was a long grieving period there where, you know, it was very unsettling. It would have been very unsettling even if I was at home surrounded by my family. But to be kind of on the other side of the world without any support system, that made it that much harder. You worry about what people think and say about you, whereas now I don't really care. So I think that comes with experience. So, you know, there are other players who had a lot of self-confidence and they coped a lot better. They probably would have coped better with my situation, but, you know, I am who I am. So I don't have any regrets. You know, it was a part of my life which was fantastic, which I really enjoyed. But, you know, it was a part of my life. I've had lots of different experiences in life and tennis was one of them, and it was a really good one. It's an accomplishment which I'm proud of now. So that's a good thing.